Hello! So I thought I would sit down and kind of let you guys know what I've been doing since I've ended my E-2 contract. So my last video, if you've watched it, it is my, moving out of my apartment and finishing my contract as a hagwon teacher in Seoul. So now my visa is, coming to an end, and I switched to a D-10 visa. So if you've heard of a D-10 visa, I know I did not know what this was. After my 1-year contract, I thought I would just have to constantly job search, even though the hagwons in Korea are not that great, or from all the stories that I've heard. So I wanted to take a little bit of a break. And so my coworker told me that there's a D-10 visa. The D-10 visa is a looking for a job visa. It is valid for 6 months and you can renew it up to 1 year. So last week I went to the immigration office, I booked myself an appointment, went in, and I got my visa approved. I was so shocked because I didn't think I had everything ready because there's no information online. I don't know why, but I can't get into any Facebook groups. They just won't accept me, and all of the information that I saw was mainly from Reddit from like years ago. So I couldn't find any information. So if you're trying to look for information online, then I'm going to tell you all of the documents that I needed to go to the immigration office and get my D-10 visa approved. So first, I booked an appointment online and I printed out my appointment confirmation form. I don't think they took it, but I think online it said that they do recommend printing it out just in case. And I also brought my application form. This is the form to change your visa status. And they have the forms there in the office, but I just wanted to fill out all the information beforehand. I didn't want to rush while I was in there, right? So I filled that out and I checked the box where it says I'm changing my visa status. And I also brought my plan for seeking employment form. This is a form that you have to fill out that just details what you're going to do in the 6 months and how you're going to look for a job. So my coworker, she got the D-10 before. She's the one that told me about the D-10 visa, because prior to knowing about this, I was just planning on switching jobs, finding a new job, and possibly a public school job. For the planning for seeking employment form, you just need to fill out what you're going to do each month. So I said I was going to look on online forums, and I was going to look on Facebook, and these different things. I'm pretty sure she actually just wrote the same thing on every line. For me, I wrote different things, but for me, my immigration officer didn't ask me anything about that form. I've heard of stories where some people will ask like extensive questions about your plan for the next 6 months. My immigration officer did ask me why I quit my job, and I just said I didn't really like it because I didn't want to get into detail about it, and she didn't ask me anything more. So I also prepared my bank statements. You need a bank statement to say that you have $10,000 or 10 million won in your bank account. I believe this only applies to students applying for the D-10, but because I was a hagwon teacher and I've been working in Korea, I don't think I actually needed it. The immigration officer said I didn't need it if I'm switching from E-2 to D-10, but I already had it, so I gave it to her and she took it anyways. And so I had my bank statement. It said the amount that I had in my account, and also I gave her my 6 months transaction history, and I printed that out both in Korean and English, and she took both copies. Again, I don't know if it was necessary. The immigration officer, when I called the service line, said it wasn't necessary, but she took it anyways. The next thing is my confirmation of residence form. So if you know, in hagwons, usually the school gives you an apartment. And if you see my last video, then you know I had to move out of that apartment, right? Because that's connected to my hagwon. Now that I'm in a new apartment, I had to fill out a form to confirm my new address. And typically you can do this at your just local immigration office, but because I was going in for my visa anyways, I just did it then. So that is a confirmation of residence form that I just had to fill out, and you need a friend or someone who lives in Korea, someone who has a place, to kind of sponsor you, and you have to photocopy their ID and also bring a photocopy of their apartment contract. So that's pretty much it. Anything else? Everything else was just your standard passport ARC, a photocopy of your passport and a photocopy of your ARC, and then a passport photo. So for your photo, it has to be taken within 6 months. I tried to give them the same picture, but she didn't accept it because I guess she realized it was the same. So it needs to be a new picture. When you take a picture with the photo booths in the subway stations, they have passport like photo booths, right? It doesn't have any date on the back, so as long as it's just a different picture from your E-2 visa, then it's fine. For the passport photo, on the application form it says your photo has to be 35 by 45 millimeters, and I guess because it's an ARC picture that you're technically using your photo for, the immigration officer just accepted my 30 by 40 photo ID. That was just my experience, though. I'm not sure if every immigration officer will accept it, so just be cautious about that and just take, you know, both options. And for the fees, it costed me in total $140 to Okay, so my battery died, but I'm just gonna finish this really quickly. So, like I was saying, it was a total of $140 for me, or 140,000 won, yes. So the visa status change was $100, and then the ARC was $30, and then $4 for your delivery fee. So you walk into the immigration office, the Seoul immigration office. You go in, to your right is the immigration section, like where you're going to have your appointment with the officer, and then if you go into your left, then that's where the ATM is. At the ATM, that's where you pay for your ARC card, and you should choose the option with delivery because, I mean, who wants to go back to the immigration office, right? So pick the selection ARC card with delivery, get the receipt, save the receipt, and then head on to the little booth right next to the ATM, and you're gonna ask the woman there for the change of visa payment, I guess. And so that is $100. Again, save the receipt because you need both of these receipts for your appointment. And at the appointment, the immigration officer will then ask you where you want your new ARC card to be delivered to. That's pretty much it. For me, I didn't have to go get a certificate of my card. If you're gonna leave the country and you need some like paper trail of your ARC, you need to go across the room, and there's a kind of another office opening there, and after your visa has been approved, then you're gonna head on over there, and I think it costs $2 to get a certificate of your new visa, or I believe the paper would just say you're in the process of changing your visa, so you can still, you know, enter and leave the country. But once you get your ARC, I asked my immigration officer if I needed it, and she said I don't, because the new ARC card will only take 3 weeks. If you're planning to leave the country and you don't think you will get your ARC mailed to you in time, then you can go across and purchase a certificate of your ARC. Otherwise, once you get your ARC, you can leave the country if you want to. You can go home, visit family, do whatever you want to, travel for up to 90 days, I believe. If you don't return back to Korea, then you have to renew your criminal record check. But as long as you come back and you enter into Korea within the 90 days, you can just leave again, and then your 90 days will renew. So that's something that is really good about the D-10 visa. So I'm planning to actually go back home to Canada and do a little bit of traveling with my family and then come back. And oh, a really exciting thing, I asked immigration officers, and this was something super confusing. I couldn't find any information online, and when I asked the immigration officer, she also didn't know, so she had to ask around. But I finally got my answer. With the D-10 visa, you can study at a language program in a Korean university. So I'm planning to maybe study at Seoul University, and the immigration officer said I can do that on my D-10 visa, which I originally thought was impossible because when I called the service line, they said that I had to switch over to a D4 visa, which is a proper like student visa. So the information was just really inconsistent. But I went to the office in person and I asked them, and they said I can study Korean on a D10 visa as long as I am not making any money, you know, because then that will be a different visa entirely. As long as I'm still looking for a job while I'm studying and not making any income, then the D10 visa is perfectly fine for studying Korean. That's pretty much it. I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover. If I forgot anything, or if anybody has any questions about the D10 visa or even about the E2 visa, leave me a question down below. I applied for the E2 visa a year ago. I kind of forgot like what documents I needed and you know what I need to notarize and all that stuff, but I'm sure I can dig that information back up again if anybody is interested. I think I mentioned this in my last video, maybe not. I know before I came to Korea, I was frantically trying to look for information online, trying to look for vlogs and stuff to just get some insight about living here, about the visa situation, stuff like that, but I couldn't really find that much. And now that I'm on this side of things, you know, I want to share my process and all the information that I now know. So yeah, if you have any questions, just leave it down below. And that's pretty much it. I think I'm gonna make some dinner now. The sun is going down. Thank you guys for watching. I'll talk to you next time. Bye!